Hi guys, welcome to your in-home tasting. So City Winery is the first winery in Brisbane since 1860. There was a guy back then called Carl Gerler. He is the namesake of our brand, Gerler Wines. So today I'm running through 6 wines that you've got in your pack. So first thing we need to consider is how do you taste? You'll see winemakers and wine nuts swirling their glass. That's to actually help the aromatic volatiles leave the surface of the wine and make their way into your snoz. So by swirling it, you're encouraging those aromatics to go up and out of the glass. If you're smelling a wine, don't snort it, because the little olfactory system that is working really hard to detect the aromas, you might just sniff it past there. It's only a tiny little thing, the receptors that are responsible for smelling. So just a really gentle sniff will get the more subtle aromas. Then when you're tasting, you don't want to be taking a tiny little sip and then straight away taking it to the back of the palate and then down the throat. You want to be coating the whole of the inside of the mouth. That way you're going to be feeling the tannins, which is the drying sensation that you get from some wines. You'll be tasting over the whole of the palate, which is how you're going to work out whether it's a good wine or not. Because if something's dominating too much at the front or the back or the sides of the palate or the tongue, you won't know that unless you've actually swilled it all around the mouth. So you take a decent sized sip, coat the whole of the mouth, then swallow. First up, we've got a Savvy, Sauvignon Blanc from Adelaide Hills. It is typical Hills Savvy. It's got real passion fruit herbal tones on the nose and not too herbaceous on the palate. It's got this real dollop of sweet fruit in the middle of the palate, even though it's actually quite dry. It's only 1 gram per litre sugar, but has this real sweet round mid palate. Very, very quaffable. Next up, we have the Sorelle. Sorelle means sisters in Italian, and it's called this because the Fiano and Vermentino that make up this blend are both Italian varietals. So they're actually located in the same latitude in Italy, but from totally different growing areas. So what we've done, we don't really follow the rules at City Winery. We do what we want. And for this baby, I think we've come up with something pretty special. I love this. It's got heaps and heaps of texture. If people ask me for Chardonnay, I generally will direct them to this because our Chardonnay's sold out. I get so many compliments about this wine, and it's my go-to. So it's a dry white wine. It's 55% Fiano and 45% Vermentino, both of which have had skin contact. This wine is white, has been in contact with its white skins for 36 hours, so you are getting a little bit of texture on the sides of the cheeks, and it has aromas of rosewater and melon. When it's on the palate, it's got a really rich round palate and it finishes dry. If you can't smell this one, just hold it in your hands and give it a little swirl. Just raising the temperature by about 3 degrees, 2 degrees makes a huge difference. I don't like this one too cold. I'll take it out of the fridge about half an hour before I want to drink it. Next wine we have is the Rosé, also one of my favourites. The Rosé is 70% Grenache, which gives you the aromas of strawberries and cream, and 30% Sangiovese. Now the Sangiovese gives it a real cranberry kind of clean, dry finish, almost savoury finish. So the Sangiovese is actually given it a bit of an orange tinge. You can't tell a Rosé's sweetness by the colour of the wine, just saying. A lot of people are prejudiced against the darker ones, when really you can't tell whether a wine is dry or sweet. It really depends on just the winemaker. It's a really great hot weather drink. Next up we have the Fog. The Fog is named so because it is made up of 5 varieties. The majority of it is Touriga and Montepulciano. Touriga is a variety that originated from Portugal. It's commonly used in port. It's got that pruny, jammy kind of aromas. Even though you would expect that that would come from really, really overripe fruit. This wasn't overripe fruit, it's just Touriga. That's just the way it is. Then Montepulciano, really renowned for all those red berry fruits. So that's an Italian variety. Red berry fruits and tannin is what you're getting from the Montepulciano. Then there's a little bit of Grenache, a little bit of Pinot Noir, and a little bit of Tempranillo. The fog is named so because those 5 varieties were all ripening at once, and ask any winemaker what it's like to be in the thick of vintage and they'll tell you it's a fog. You do really crazy hours and not getting as much sleep as you should, and during this time when 5 varieties were ripening and getting picked all at once, it was a lot like a fog. This one's a really soft, complex wine because it's got the pruniness but the red berry fruits. It's quite pretty and floral, and then it's got lots of tannins but quite soft tannins. So that one goes with most things. So the next one is a Grenache Mataro. This is one of my favourite labels. This is when Dave was actually having to live in a tent up in Stanthorpe. We were renting a winery space and didn't have enough in the budget for accommodation, so the tent it was. Grenache Mataro is a very, very popular blend in southern Rhone, and that's what we were inspired by. This is a multi-vintage, which means it's made up of 80% 2018 Grenache and 20% 2019 Mataro. So this is drinking really, really well at the moment. It's really soft and generous and licorice and almost chocolatey on the palate. The Mataro's renowned for aging fast, and it's giving it that licoricey, chocolatey flavour on the palate. Last but not least is our Shiraz. So the Shiraz is really typical of a Barossa Shiraz, so we love it. It's big, juicy, ripe cherry fruit, plum, lots of oak and lots of tannin. But the generosity you get in a Shiraz is what people love, and that generous middle of the palate sweetness, and the tannins are located mainly on the middle of the tongue or on the tongue in general, which you'll notice as compared to the fog and the Grenache Mataro, you'll find the tannins elsewhere in the mouth. Could be on the cheeks, could be on the roof of your mouth, on your gums. It's very typical of Shiraz as a monovarietal to have the tannins located or felt on the middle of the tongue. But that is all I have for you, so enjoy. Don't forget that you can drink these after they've been opened, so don't feel like you have to drink the whole bottle in each sitting.